everybody, it's Jay LaValle, Joe Wrestling. I'm here with Teague Moore. How you doing, Teague?
I'm great this morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thanks for coming in. I know we've been talking about getting this thing going, and I'm glad we finally got to sit down to do this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good synergy, and it's always good to talk wrestling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Teague Moore, if you don't know, he was an NCAA champion, University World Gold, and as a coach, you were at University of Pittsburgh. Well, you were kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah. I wrestled at Oklahoma State, but then I coached at Pitt for 2 years, and then I went to Oklahoma for 2 years, back to Oklahoma State, my alma mater, during 2004, and then I went to Harvard for 2 years, and that was all as assistant coach, or assistant coaching, and then I got my first head job at Clarion in 2006.
And then you came down here.
Yeah, finished at
American University.
Yeah. 15 years as a head coach, and six or 7 seasons as an assistant.
That's a good run. 5 years at Clarion, 10 years at AU.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And even after your collegiate coaching stints, you had 2 World Team, USA Wrestling World.
I got the opportunity. USA Wrestling had asked about coaching it was the first ever U23 World Team, and so I got to coach there at the World Championships, and then the following year they asked me back to help with the Junior World Team. So 2 World Team opportunities in coaching, which was really, really good experiences from the international side of things. I had all these years of college coaching as assistant and head, but the international scene was just a little bit different, and working with those type of athletes was a lot of fun.
Sure. And so I'm sure at some point you got that opportunity. You're like, you had been kind of separated from that scene. You were an international athlete yourself, and then suddenly you get to lead those teams. How'd that feel?
It was really cool with Kevin Jackson, who had coached during my time. I was involved with USA Wrestling as an athlete from 2000 to 2004. Kevin was in charge, and so when I came back, Kevin was still on the staff at USA Wrestling. So it was just a great experience to be able to take the knowledge and the experience from my days as an athlete, and then be able to work with today's athletes and help them prepare for World Championships.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that year did Mackay win that year?
Okay. Stop, please. Okay.
Bisa membuat medali setelah lain
Yeah, Mackay won a world title. We went to that one. And the experience coaching on the international scene, it is different than the college coaching. Number one, the type of athlete you're working with is much different. You're really assisting them to allow them to perform at their best. Whereas I felt like at the college level, you're really teaching and you're developing. At the world level, they're already on the world team. They know what it takes to compete at that level, so you're just assisting them to be their best.
Right.
Teague Moore, a local product from the Pittsburgh area, North Allegheny High School from Wexford, Pennsylvania.
So going back in your own athletic career, wrestled at North Allegheny High School, and that's near Pittsburgh. A little bit about your background there. I know that you had some powerhouse teams.
They did. When I was young, when I was in elementary school, my older brother Ty, who was a 4-time Pennsylvania state champion, his high school teams were among the best in the nation. So his junior year, they were ranked number 1 in the country, and there was a big rivalry between they and St. Edward's at that time. And of those 4 years, they won the Pennsylvania State Championships 4 times. So I got to watch and come up under that. And North Allegheny has always put together state champions and teams that are very competitive in the state of Pennsylvania. And as most people know, the state of Pennsylvania is where high school wrestling is really big. And so those opportunities, a gentleman that some people know in the wrestling world, a gentleman by the name of Ray Brinzer, he had gone off and wrestled at Oklahoma State, and then he transferred to Iowa. And so that was the first kind of inkling that I ever got of Oklahoma State. I started learning more about Oklahoma State. Actually, his dad, I was pretty young at the time. I was in 6th or 7th grade. When Ray made the decision to go to Oklahoma State, I remember asking him why Ray chose Oklahoma State, and then he started telling me about the history of Oklahoma State. And so I was really drawn towards it, and that was the time when John Smith was winning, world and Olympic titles. So when my opportunity came along, I had more success on the freestyle circuit. And coming up in Pennsylvania, we do put a lot of emphasis on freestyle wrestling as much as folk style wrestling. I struggled with my folk style wrestling. I only won 1 Pennsylvania state championship, but I won 3 junior national championships out in Fargo. And so that's where John Smith saw where my talents were and asked me to come and wrestle at Oklahoma State. And so that's how I transitioned from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania down to Oklahoma.
That's a great story. I had no idea that. And John, I'm sure he's got just a great eye for talent because, obviously he had a lot of NCAA success, but the bigger success for him, I thought, was his freestyle.
Yeah. Internationally. And during his retirement last year, they did a really good job of covering that transition that he made from collegiate wrestling to international wrestling. And Oklahoma State, in terms of the United States, has the most Olympic gold medalists, the most Olympic medals. So there's a long history at Oklahoma State. So for me, being able to wrestle under Coach Smith and just hear his perspective and his mindset, I came into Oklahoma State with goals of making world teams, Olympic teams. And so they're synonymous, right? You're trying to win NCAA championships. You're trying to be the best in the world. And I think that helped raise the level of competition in our room. It definitely helped in terms of our team aspect of what we were trying to do because we wanted to be the best within the sport, not just in college wrestling, but we had guys that were wanting to be world and Olympic champions.
Sure, and you did. You had Jameel Kelly.
Yeah, Olympic silver medalist.
Eric Guerrero.
Olympian and 3-time
Was Coleman
NCAA
at that
champion.
point, or was he?
Coleman was, when I went back to coach, Coleman had just gotten to Oklahoma State, so I did have a year of overlap where I was on Cowboy Wrestling Club and training for freestyle. The 2004 Olympics, Oklahoma State put 3 Olympians on that team: Daniel Cormier, Eric Guerrero, and Jamil ended up silver. But we had all the weight classes filled, with Steve Mocco at heavyweight, and I was down at 55 kilos. So we had a really good run. Guys like Muhammad Lawal also were at the top level. He was going up against Cale Sanderson, right? But at Oklahoma State at that time, Coach had put together a room full of guys that were trying to be the best they could at the world level, and it filtered down into the college program.
That's what you see, with Penn State, right? Cale's doing this. He's recruiting based off of guys that want to make world teams and Olympic teams. David going over to Stillwater, that must feel good.
It does.
But losing John, obviously, Coach Smith is tough.
It was, but at the same time, extremely happy for him because he gets to transition in life.
That sucked, some of those matches. I don't know. It was just wasn't good. I wasn't crazy about last week, really. You're going to have to get tougher. You're not tough enough. If I got somebody that's threatened me, I am not going to let him stay in the match. I'm going to take the match. I have to take it. I can't let him stay in the match. I got to go take it from him. But we let people wrestle with us today. You're way better than that.
What Coach Smith did for the sport of wrestling, not just as an athlete and a coach, but an ambassador of the sport, now he gets to enjoy his time doing what he wants to do. So,
winning 6 world championships You tend to just be isolated.
Much appreciation and respect for Coach. At the same time, the new generation, so David's putting that energy into our program now that he wants people that want to be on the world team, guys like Wyatt Hendrickson, and there's going to be a room full of them, right?
RBY, Zahid.
Yeah.
So he's doing essentially what Coach Smith did with you guys.
He's looking for the talent of the guys that can be the next generation. So that's really exciting. And RBY is representing Mexico. So I love the idea of we're looking for the best of the best, and we're going to put them and allow them to work together. And now that we have Jax Forrest just committed this week, a great pickup. And this year's recruiting class that will be at Oklahoma State is going to really change the dynamics and the mindset of those that are in that program right now. So it's extremely exciting as an alumni. I love seeing what the coaches are doing. The university has always been behind the sport of wrestling at Oklahoma State. They understand what we represent, not only for Oklahoma State, but the state of Oklahoma, right? And the sport of wrestling. And to have that sort of backing from alumni and donors and administrators, it's a very rare thing. There's only a few places in the country right now that have the support and the understanding of what it's going to take for us to succeed at that level. So it's really fun to be alive and be seeing what's happening right now. It's a great transition. I feel like Gable did it at Iowa in the 80s and the 90s.
I came to work almost every day, and I'd pull out my drawer, and I could pull out a bottle of champagne and pour the champagne to celebrate. Why? Because you win a 4, you win a 5, you win a 6, you win a 7, you win an 8, you win 9 national championships.
John had that success early in the 2000s.
And the next thing you know, OSU's winning the national championship that year. So kind of their first year back as a full-strength squad under John Smith, OSU wins the national title. So that's when everybody's able to sit back and go, okay, things are going to be okay. And
It goes back to just, walking in the gym, looking at the banners every day. Your facility's named after maybe one of the greatest coaches in any sport, and he was a wrestling coach. I think as a student athlete, when you come to Oklahoma State for wrestling, there's a level of legacy that just rubs off on you, that never leaves you. It's bigger than your performances. It's bigger than what you did. You're just a part of a program, You begin to understand that this program can help me win. It can help me go to levels that maybe I couldn't do at other schools. You just get to look around on walls and stuff that makes it a real belief system that it can happen. And I think for that reason, the legacy and the traditions of what we have, it rubs off on you.
Oklahoma State, now Cale's doing it.
Just a game, right? I mean, it's just, we love the game. It's one of my favorite games. There's a lot of great games, probably my favorite game, but it's just a game. Whether you win or lose, it's not really that big of a deal in the eternities. It's just who you are, what you stand for.
Often. That's one of the things that we have to do as a coach is teach guys how to have fun with the sport. If I come in, I'm dragging a little bit, I need to liven it up. Let's do something different.
And I feel like we can start to change that tide a little bit and take it back to Oklahoma State.
So it is my pleasure to introduce to you the 8th head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboy Wrestling Program, David Taylor.
And you kind of see that trying to happen at University of Michigan. They kind of, and they got some good guys up there too, and then Iowa obviously, but it doesn't seem like it's translated quite yet like it has at Penn State. It has at Oklahoma State. So it's
Well,
those are the two that are really showing that this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way it works and is the most successful.
I think that there's some logistics that have to be put in place, but there's also, I would say there's got to be a little bit of luck as well, right?
Sure.
The people that you're bringing in terms of injuries, opportunities, people living the right lifestyle, there's got to be a number of things that fall in line for that to happen. So you can put one or two pieces of the puzzle together, but there's really got to be a string of successful things that happen and a little bit of luck that it works out. And I feel like, as a Cowboy fan right now, I feel like we're putting those things together.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
How do you see that move by David, and not necessarily leaving Penn State, but recreating something like what Cale does and recreating what Coach Smith did? How do you see that trickling down around the NCAAs and guys? Are they gonna follow suit? Are they gonna try and compete for those recruits? Are they?
Yeah, I think the competitive nature of our sport, we're going to see more programs try and fall in line with that. The program that comes to mind for me is Mark Manning out at Nebraska. Like he's proven with a Jordan Burroughs that he can take guys to that level.
We took over a probation program, and so we were reduced in scholarships. There was a negative light on our program. It took a lot of hard work from myself and my staff to really just to get the right young men to believe and come to Nebraska and what it can become.
Be able to clear. If you have a shot off it, great.
We're the furthest west of any Big Ten program. And most of the country's best wrestlers are coming from the East Coast.
A university with that type of prestige and power, they have the ability to do it. So I do think that we're going to see more programs going in that direction. You mentioned Michigan, like they had a number of international representatives that train in the Michigan room.
Catch your breath. These are the moments. These are the moments. These are the moments where you got to recheck, rethink, be clear, and lock in on just wrestling. Relax, breathe, and wrestle. Relax, breathe, and wrestle. You'll have those moments, right? Those moments where you're a little fuzzy, a little fatigued a little bit, but we got to be clear. Relax, breathe, and wrestle. Stick to your fundamentals, stick to your principles. Control tie-ups, react, look for your scores. Build for your finish. 5-minute break.
So there's a secret sauce that comes with it. Penn State obviously has been leading us for a while in that charge, but I do think it's good for the sport that other coaches and other programs start to try and figure that out, because it's just going to make it more competitive. And most importantly is the next generation has more opportunities, right? We don't want to filter this down to where there's only a few schools that you can look at. We want to have 20, 30 programs that have that type of abilities to support the student athletes and the wrestlers all the way through, not just their college wrestling, but international.